welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, now we are switching gears to what's been going on in the fishing industry. So, of course, we're going to be joined by no stranger to us, and that's the president of the All Tobago Fisher Folk Association, and that's Mr. Curtis Douglas. And special good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Douglas. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you, Candice, and to all your viewers and listeners. You know, I always like to start by share the live. Share the live. Yeah.
Certainly. Now, I want to first start with just touching on what's been going on with the search for the missing fisherman, Mr. Curtis Cox. What's the update where that's concerned?
Well, Richie is
Richie Cox. Sorry.
We're still looking for him. I'm just surprised. By now we haven't found him, and you know, the mother and the family is still there every day. You know. For some hope right now, we have hope. And once we're in the land of living, we have hope, and we're hoping that, you know, we'll be able to give that closure to the family in that aspect or in that regard, in the sense of finding him. Mm-hmm. And not only his family, giving the community, and even the fisher folk, that closure, right? Although in reality, we would like to see a miracle whereby for some unforeseen reason he could be show up alive, yeah. But right now the search is still on. The fisher folk is doing due diligence to ensure, to try our best to see how best we could apprehend him or recover him.
And of course, we know that it's actually a very well organized effort from the community groups, of course, with Mr. Alvin Douglas and all the fishermen and so on. That's out there every day searching for him.
No, I just want the public to understand and to know certain things. Alvin Douglas, Tobago Marine Safety, is the only dive organization I would have seen that coming forward to help Tobagonians, whether to retrieve or to get specimens or to get research products or data, right? And I must say, thanks to Alvin and his team, and I also, you know, want to say to Alan Stewart and Tima, they would have came out assiduously, worked from morning to evening, working alongside the All Tobago Fisher Folk to try our best to see how best we could help Tobago in the cry for help when it's needed. So I have to say kudos to the fishermen and them as well. All right, the fishermen I mean, they are cooking on the bay. They are going out and cooking. So we're providing meals. Even Tima is providing water. We are providing so many things to ensure, and I would have seen a unity would have built in that whole community aspect of it, through Tima, through Alvin and his team, through the fisher folk. We are seeing for the longest while I haven't seen that love and togetherness to try to fight, and this is all because of Richie, Mr. Cox, right?
Right, and then as we're speaking about even just working with Tima and so on, of course, you've also been working with Tima in regards to the assistance to the oil spill cleanup efforts over the past couple months, and thankfully that's been going well. I mean, as well as it can go, given the circumstances. And recently, you all would have submitted a proposal for the amount of losses that would have been incurred, especially to the Lambo fishermen, and it amounted to about $13 million. And I mean, of course, that's an estimated cost, and it could be higher. So tell me about just even the details of that and what led to that cost.
Right. What happened? We would have, well, from the 7th of February, even before, at least, you know, let's say, I think there was a guy saying, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, was hydrocarbon in Tobago waters, you know, and we would have acted immediately along with Tima and other organization, Kaizen and another organization, to help secure the waters of Tobago. But nevertheless, I want to speak up more about the costing, how we derive at that costing. What we would have done, ATFA would have done an internal check on the fisher folk One, we would have checked who was affected by it. Two, how many engines were damaged. Three, how many the downstream process in it, whereby we have processors, fish processors, and vendors were affected by it. So what we did, we calculate the cost, meaning how much the average fisher folk from that vicinity. Because a lot of people is only watching Lambo. I mean, understand the marine industry. It's not Lambo fisher folk alone is affected. For example, if this were to happen in Charlottesville, right? Or let's say outside of Plymouth, it will affect One Love, Two Love, Three Love, Drives a Passage, and so be it. But Plymouth people alone don't fish there, right? So we have a whole host of fisher folk. So what we did, we narrowed down the people, right, who fish in that vicinity from Scarborough, Lambo, back to Plymouth to Pigeon Point, and we would have narrowed down all the bona fide fisher folk that is registered, right, and that are literally fishing there and literally affected by it. So we collected that data, right, and collected the data of one, the bait, how it would affect you, right, not getting that bait, and not getting that bait would cause you not to be able to make a catch of 30 pounds, 40 pounds worth in fish. So we calculate that against the amount you would produce, right, on a daily basis. And we have calculated by the days. Instead of the months, we said, okay, we calculated by 64 days. So roughly we get a calculation by 64 days, right? And we would have calculated how much the vendor would sells on an average. So if a vendor sells, let's say 200 pounds on an average, right? We calculate that. Remember, the vendors themselves were removed from their original space and put into the food hub in Shore Park. So that would have caused them, affect them as well. So the sales of that would have reduced as well. So we calculate that on the basis back on what normally they would have get from revenue on a daily basis. So we comprise all of that and give a total. So the total, right? I didn't give the real total. I would have sent the real total, the real cost, the estimated cost to the chief secretary. Right.
And did you have a discussion with him when you submitted this proposal?
I was told to submit the proposal. I gave him since last week. So what I would have done, I would have submitted the proposal to him, so by email, and would have sent the hard copy, deliver the hard copy at Shore Park Complex for him. So at least he and his team and the fisheries department will know how much, because we work independently. We don't work directly to say we represent the government, or we work independently and separate and apart for the fisher folk. Our role and functions is to protect and safeguard and see the interests of the fisher folk. So that is what I did. That is what the team did, not me. The team did submit that. So the bill is not only 12,000, it's over 13 million.
Yes.
All right. So the chief secretary will do the due diligence, check that background check, and then they would have to act. And not only so, I'm not only blaming the chief secretary. This was submitted to the chief secretary for the prime minister or those who handle finances, right? This wasn't submitted for the teacher. This is really a document for the central government, right, to submit. But he have to do the due diligence before he submit it to the central government, and then the central government will submit the funding to ATFA, and then ATFA will then take out a percentage for their labor, and then we allocate to those who were affected. Because, you know, in the schemes of things, you would find people would say they lost, and when you check on the basis of it, some of them haven't even fished in even 15 years. So I have to be fair, and I have to be honest with the people who are affected, and I have to represent the people who are affected. And that is what ATFA do. We represent and protect the fishing industry, and also we also have to give an estimate how would it affect us within a year or 2 years. So now, how long will the bait come back? Will it be 2 years, 3 years? So that in itself have to be submitted. So what was submitted is for the immediate action to bring relief to the fisher folk that were affected by the hydrocarbon in our space.
All right. And then, of course, we know also that we still we still don't know a lot of information in regards to the ownership of the vessel. I mean, we have some idea, or we had some indication, but I mean, nobody has come forward yet. So even though that this is happening within our space, the truth is the THA and the central government is not really the ones to blame for this happening to us.
No, the Republic and the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Chief Secretary and the Honorable Prime Minister, I don't, if anyone think that they are responsible, they need to go check a psychiatrist because they are not responsible. The people who are responsible for this tragic disaster in the waters and the shores on the west of Tobago is the owners of this vessel, right? I didn't see anything mark Keith Rowley or Fali Chavez on that, right? All I've seen is destruction, and these people ought to be held accountable. And the longer they stay to come forward to admit to this atrocity that they would have caused upon the people of Tobago and the Caribbean, right? I think they should more than throw the law at them. They should pay for every damage they cause, and they should also be thinking about jail time or stop all operations, given the fact they are reckless, careless, and irresponsible. Because if you know you are the owner of a vehicle and get into a car accident, it is your responsibility, because I don't expect you to drive the vehicle without insurance. You must have some form of insurance to cover this accident. And they haven't came forward, to my knowledge. They haven't came forward to my knowledge. No one spoke to the fisher folk, so I don't know if anybody's under the intel they would have spoken to the Minister of Energy, to Mr. Chavez, or to the Prime Minister. I don't know. But as it stands when I'm sitting here now, no one have came forward to say, hey, I put up my hand. I lay claim for it, and I would respect that. I could work with that. But when the government of Trinidad and Tobago have to go and investigate, check, open all doors all in Africa, and do fingerprinting to find out where this oil comes from, and the ownership of the boat, that is really, really phenomenal and atrocious.
And of course, it leaves us now with a situation where we have to respond with some immediacy in terms of compensation for those that are affected. And of course, the problem is, how do we calculate that? How do we determine that while the real persons that are responsible for it are still at large?
Right, and that is what I'm saying. From my expertise, right, in the marine industry, in the fishing industry for over 35 years, we would have submit that. So we expect now the experts to have their marine specialists to say, well, here what happened. Because Candice, make no mistake, over 13 million is for the fisher folk. I haven't spoken about the hotel.
Yes.
I haven't spoken about the businessman who is selling the shop that the fishermen buying food from when they come from sea, right? I ain't talk about where the fishermen, the rental people who renting their homes and couldn't stay there because of that pungent scent, all right? And all of that. I haven't talked about that entire downstream Tobagonians that were affected by this. And this is something I think should be dealt with as seriously. Since the fact that we have it under control, I now believe at least by month end, some form of relief should be given to the people of Tobago, because I am just saying, the key assets of a country is the people. Is the people, and we must safeguard the people. We must be able to understand, even in Europe, in England, right? There's a law said quite clearly, they will take you from cradle to grave, meaning that they understood and understand the purpose and the value of their citizens, of their people, because we all are Trinbagonians, no matter how you look at it. Whether you're wearing yellow, pink, blue, green, whatever the color may be, we all put that aside and act as Tobagonian, especially in a situation like this where it needs unification within the whole concept of Tobago and our marine space. We sell tourism. I haven't even spoken about how it will affect, how it did affect tourism, because I'm sure that the Chief Secretary and they would have to do damage control to show that, our waters is still safe. Tests will have to be done, Test was done on the fish to ensure that the fish is edible. We would have stopped fisher folk from fishing. Even the bulletin would have came out from TIMA and TNT Savage Ministry of Energy not to fish within 500 meters. 500 meters. So all that complies, right, will affect fisher folks from Scarborough, from Lambo, from Pigeon Point, from Boko, because the shallows is there. And if you look at that diameter, it's a wide diameter. So it forces men now to either do one of the two things. Either you pull up and stop, or you try to go further, which most men are doing, because some of them have to go from different ports. So we have to take all, the government have to take all this into consideration. So the Ministry of Energy have their work to do, the Ministry of Finance have their work to do, the Prime Minister have their work to do, and the Chief Secretary who represent Tobago have their work to do. So we must be able to be well represented, hence the reason why I'm sending this plan, to ensure that fisher folk, at least by month end, by this month end, be compensated at least immediately. I'm not immediately, and the next month we could see an injection of more, compensation or relief. Let me use the right term. Relief or grants. Grants being given out, so ADFA can then come now and start to give out grants to the fisher folk to ease them. Because I'm seeing people, I'm telling you, men boats are down. They can't fish. They can't pay their rent. I have to take money out of my pocket to help them. I have to take money from ADFA to help them to buy groceries. I appreciate the fact that the Chief Secretary and the THA would have give some fisher folks some grants, right? But how far $1,000 can take you? How far, right? School have reopened. The children need to go to school. They need certain amenities to function. So we have to take all that, and even in the estimate, I didn't even take that into consideration. I just give a baseline rate on how the fisher folk would have affected. So I didn't give them the full comprehensive rate. I gave a baseline figure based on it, and the baseline figure would have amount to over 13 million TT dollars.
Do you think enough is being done to even try to find the owners of the vessel and those responsible to make them pay, instead of having to put the onus on the THA and the central governments?
Well, I believe one, to answer the question, the THA or the central government should fit that bill now. But the onus must be felt in the pockets of the owner of that vessel, whether by insurance or whatever. You cannot be operating a big company like that and not have money to compensate this and then come forward. So I'm saying the central government have a responsibility, right? And the responsibility is to find the owner of that vessel and to prosecute that. CARICOM have a responsibility too. Because if this happened in Tobago, this could have happened anywhere in the Caribbean, and we must set an example. And given the fact that the Prime Minister is part chair of the CARICOM, he should force that envelope to ensure that CARICOM play a more integral role in persecuting and finding these people and persecuting them. Because that is what we're looking for, proper leadership and guidance from our heads. So yes, you're saying THA, but it's his responsibility. This is when you go up for election and you get sitting in some of the higher office, these are some of the responsibilities that comes with it. So yes, the Prime Minister have a responsibility. Yes, the Chief Secretary have a responsibility. And now it need for them to come forward, help the fisher folk, help the society, and also look for the culprit and them who create all of this mischief and persecute them and throw the book at them from all directions. Because, as I said, up to now, they haven't came forward and said, hey, Solo Creed, I put up mine. Oh, I had to find Solo Creed, Google and find Solo Creed. The government need to do some more. And I'm surprised at even the opposition, because even the opposition have a responsibility to force the government, to pressure the government to act. To act in the interest of the people, because you are there to represent the people, right? So I expect the government to do more, and do more by within 24 to 48 hours.
All right, and then as you mentioned CARICOM just a short while ago, we also had the issue with the ongoing issue, I should say, about flying fish between Barbados and Tobago. What's the latest where that's concerned?
Candice, I don't know. Recently, current went through Tobago recently. I don't know if you were affected, right? And if you were in Castara, you would have seen the candleflies and them outside there, lighten up the waters, the shores, the beautiful sonority of Tobago waters by taking all these flying fish. ADFA would have sent a 10-point plan, right? That 10-point plan would have been able to speak to controlling our borders. Okay, first to begin with, ADFA is a Coast Guard. There is no security. It's a free, as a local parlance, free sepulchre. You could just walk into Tobago waters and threaten Tobagonians and shoot Tobago. You could do what they want, actually do what they want. There is no help. Recently, a week ago, Look Me, which is the boat of the vice president of ADFA, was pulled aside, was run upon by American Coast Guard and asking him if he speak English in the waters of Tobago. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know if there was an arrangement between our government and that intel wasn't passed to the public. I don't know. But I'm just saying that to say, these are things that are happening to Tobagonians. We are not hearing anything happening to the outsiders who are invading us. Candice, we have to have a fishing permit to go to sea. People are coming into our waters and fish without a permit from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And if we are to be caught in their waters without a permit, there are severe consequences to be paid. Because we have to follow the rules. We Tobagonians follow the rules. We follow the laws that govern us. So why it is others, why can they now pay and limit the amount of boats that coming in, even though we can't police it? ADFA will police it. We will police it. We will keep the data. We don't even know. A month and a half ago, we were landing flying fish in the shores of Scarborough. I even have the information from Pastor George Alexander, and other fishermen. No, you can't even go. I'm getting report, Bajans on your left, Spanish on your right. You understand? And Tobago with little pirogue in there, and they are giving them candle flies. So it makes it more difficult for us to land our flying fish. So that means processors will feel it, right? And consumers will feel it. So that in itself, you have a house of gold, but you cannot access your gold because of foreign entity. And the Coast Guard and the Minister of Finance, the Energy, all of no one, even the opposition, no one speaks because it is Tobago. But it is an issue that is affecting Trinidad and Tobago. And they should treat with this immediately. You know, just now when you're going to find, sorry to say, I don't even want to say it. I don't want to say we are floaters. Right? But you imagine you just going out there 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, saturated with foreigners fishing in your waters. And when you call the Coast Guard, even though you get them coordinates, you're still waiting here in crickets. And we have to call Trinidad before Coast Guard could action any issues in Tobago waters. In Tobago, so if you have a problem in Tobago, you have to call Trinidad for them to say, well, okay, let's go to Tobago to deal with this. Rubbish. We need change. We are living in a changing world. And if we don't change or adapt, we're going to get left behind.
Certainly. All right, well, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave things there this morning, but I want to thank you so much, Mr. Douglas, for being on with us and sharing your perspective on some of these things that are affecting the fishing community at this point in time.
Candice, there is so much thing. And you know what? What is so mind-boggling to me, if the scholars and them don't understand, the fishing industry is a multi-billion dollars industry. And we are letting that go to waste. I'm telling you, on an average, we have fishermen working. I am just was telling Mr. Woods, we have fishermen who average $8,000 a day, and that's selling fish wholesale. I'm not talking about resale. That's selling fish at $20 a pound. Yeah? And we have people come and take it from us right in our backyard. So why can't we just cooperate and do this together? Let's do this together. Let's do this together. The people will benefit from this is Trinidad and Tobago and also CARICOM, because then now CARICOM will be able to be paying the taxes into Trinidad and Tobago purse. So we'll have that cash flow and contribute to the GDP. We can't always study oil. Let's study food security. Let's study the people. Let's study futuristic, so we could now invest in bigger boats for the youths instead of trying to give everybody a teacher or a government job. Let's fishermen are entrepreneurs. Let's graduate. Let's boost. Let's raise the bar. It's there, and the thing is, it's there. It's right there. We don't have to do anything more than this to just focus and achieve that goal.
Certainly, and definitely a good point to leave this conversation this morning. But again, I want to thank you, and we will certainly thank you for joining us and for viewing this morning. I hope you have a safe and wonderful day in whatever you do, and we will see you again tomorrow. So bye for now.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new